Hey bookworms!
I'm BookMouse.
And I'm BookKitty, and this is our BookNook.
This week we're exploring The Alchemist by Michael Scott.
The Alchemist is the first book in the New York Times Bestselling Series, The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel. I first read The Alchemist several years ago. I was still an adult, even though it's a young adult novel. I tend to gravitate toward more young adult genre because I find it more immersive than fiction that's geared toward adults. I read this book several years ago, and then I started reading it again. One of my bookshop bonanza, whatever. Like when I just kept going and grabbing a whole bunch of books from Barnes & Noble, I found that there was more to the series. I think the first time I read it, it was the only book. And so when I bought the series, I started reading the book again, and life got in the way, and I never got to finish it. So BookMouse and I have taken another gander at it, and I loved it just as much as the first time.
This was actually my first introduction to the book. BookKitty recommended it, and I kind of hemmed and hawed, but then I started reading it and finished it in a day because I just
Me too.
got hooked and needed to know what fantastical thing's going to happen next.
And it's an easy read.
It really is. It was very well written. Your heroes are a pair of 15-year-old twins, and the brother and sister you're moving with them through the story. Things are happening to them, they're learning new things, and you're learning right around the same pace that they're learning.
Yes.
I liked the fact that the author integrates a lot of places, legends, lores, and gods, goddesses, mythical creatures that we all know about. We've heard of Bastet. We've heard of the Morrigan.
Hecate. It includes a lot of myth and legend from all over the world and a lot of places. And he actually mentions in the back of the book in an afterword about how he combined all these things, how he took a lot of these myths and legends and kind of made them make sense in one world.
And he did. And he points out, and I had to check, he points out that all the characters in his book, except the twins, are real people. They existed, or there was a complete mythos or pantheon with them in it, somewhere in some culture in the world.
And apparently that applies to the entire series.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, me too.
The male twin, actually, Josh hears a new name, or he gets bombarded with a new fact, gets on the computer.
Until he loses his computer.
Yes.
Because the tree eats its power.
But he actually is finding information. I was like, nah. So, of course, I go, put it into the Wikipedia, put it into Google, and I'm finding what they're talking about in the book.
Mm-hmm.
He's not making things up. You know, some people will take a little bit of a legend and then rewrite the whole thing to
go
fit
off
their
the rails
story.
with it.
Michael Scott doesn't do that. He actually takes the stories as we know them through our history and integrates them into this world. And I thought he did an amazing job with that.
Oh yeah, seamless.
It was very smooth. It was very interesting.
Very believable.
And then the way he integrated Bastet and Hecate and the Morrigan, names I've heard, things, you know, when I was on my ancient Egypt fascination. These are names I knew, beings and people that I've studied about. It made me wonder, okay, who's he going to bring in next?
Yeah.
What mythos is going to be brought into this story next? So it made me really want to read the next book so that I can see, where are we going now? I like how his heroes, Sophie and Josh, have to digest this information that's coming at them.
They have to realize that their entire life, this one incident at the beginning of the book, that's the catalyst for the story, their entire life completely changes. I mean, one minute they're just enjoying their summer vacation, staying with their annoying aunt, while their parents are archaeologists, so they're off on some dig, and they're just working their part-time jobs across the street from each other.
They're saving up for a car.
Yeah,
that's their only interest right now.
And then this thing happens, and their entire world changes. All of a sudden, now they're part of this world that has magic and alchemy and all these things that they thought weren't real. They now have to reconcile within themselves that they saw this thing happen, and there was no logical explanation for it, so they had to accept that magic was real. I mean, what is that saying? I think maybe it was Spock who said it.
One man's science is another man's magic is another man's religion.
Yes, but I was thinking of the one with the, when you've exhausted all possibilities, that which remains, Sherlock Holmes. Regardless of how logical it may, however improbable, must be true. And that's kind of what they're going through this entire book. They keep questioning these things that they saw, and then they accept them, and then they question them again a little bit later when they learn something else.
And I like how he integrates the mentors, the twins' mentor. The mentor is Nicholas Flamel.
And his wife, although we don't see her a whole lot in this book. There's a reason for that.
You know, there are legends about Nicholas Flamel being an immortal with the Philosopher's Stone and the immortality formula.
And yes, there's more to Nicholas Flamel than just Harry Potter.
Yes. So it was nice to see him integrate all these cultures, all these different ways of looking at things, and then take two modern teenagers, drop them in it, and what is their reaction? How are they going to adapt?
And I liked how Nicholas kind of, he only gives them a little bit of information at a time about this world that they're now a part of. Like, he tells them, an entire day after the kids start joining him on this adventure, he waits an entire day to tell them that he kind of dragged them along, not only because they were there for the incident, but because he thinks they're a part of this prophecy. And that's all he shares. He doesn't tell them what the prophecy is. Nope. He doesn't tell them all the details. He just says, I think it's you, and it's because you have this and you have this, and he leaves it at that. And that's kind of how he disseminates information to them throughout the entire book when it comes to this magical alchemy world, is he only gives them little bits of information. And it is a saying amongst these ancient beings, Nicholas Flamel never tells everyone everything. And they tell Josh specifically this, and so that's one of the conflicts, the internal conflicts in the twins, is, can I trust him? Can I trust these new people? I mean, I have to trust my eyes. I saw this thing happen that had no logical explanation, but do I have to trust this guy? And one of them even said, don't trust anyone but each other. And they even asked, what about Nicholas? Because this was another one of their party members. And she says, don't trust anyone but yourselves. And so the whole time they're questioning even their mentor. Could you imagine being thrown into an unknown world with unknown rules by this person that you worked with and trusted, and now all of a sudden you don't know if you can trust him, but you feel like you can? It's just... they're growing up. They're having to learn to make those judgment calls. And I like how they play that off. That they're having, despite being twins and always being each other's rock and foundation, they're starting to see things a little differently. And so you also start to see that clashing of when something happens to one twin but not the other, does it pull them together or pull them apart? And how are the bad... And how does the one without feel? How does he feel? And how does he react? And how do the enemies play on that? And I like also, like BookKitty said, the settings. San Francisco, Ojai, the forests. Is that how you say it? Ojai? I was reading it as Ojai. No. Ojai, California. So, it was just neat that the author points out that he made a point of visiting his locales. He's been to Paris. He's been to San Francisco.
He's been to Big Sur.
Took pictures and videos and notes.
So that he could be as honest
and thorough
and realistic as possible. And it really brings something to the story when you feel like you're sitting on the bridge.
Like, I've never been to San Francisco. I've seen some images and, you know, some TV shows that take place there. So I had some frame of reference, but with his writing, I almost felt like I had seen the place.
Oh, yeah. And
I believe BookMouse has been there before.
I have been there before. And you know, him describing seeing Alcatraz in the corner of your eye as you're driving down a certain road, and you're realizing, okay, yeah, I can see the island. I can see the weird birds flying over the island, and it was just really neat how he describes things and how he integrates myths and golems and were-people and describes even the smells of things.
Oh, yeah.
And,
smells was a big part of the book, more so than most books. Like,
yes.
I guess in this book, your aura has a certain smell to it, especially when you're a magic user. When you use that magic, people can smell your aura, and like one of them is mint, one of them's rotten eggs, one of them's vanilla and oranges, and these, just as they describe what they're smelling as they're doing or witnessing these things, I'm just like, ooh. Actually, at one point, I really honestly did smell vanilla for a second. Now, that might be my connection, because I really like the smell of vanilla, like vanilla candles and stuff. But I really did smell it there for a second. I was like, wait. And then I smelled again, and it was gone. I was like, oh, Jesus. You got me, Michael Scott. You got me.
So, the book does not tie everything up. It leaves you wanting more.
But even though it leaves you wanting more and wanting to know how the adventure plays out, because they did not finish their adventure, they just began, it still kind of wraps up this chapter of the story. It almost kind of ends at a really good pause point, so to speak. Thanks for joining us. Next week, we'll be taking a look at After Dark by Jane Castle.
So don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can join us. This has been BookMouse.
And I'm BookKitty. And we're signing off.